Hi, and welcome to the Quiet Operator podcast. Today, I'm joined by Mark Thomas, who's the director of Zen 10. Mark, lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Nathan. Great to be here.
So, Mark, Zen 10's involved in digital marketing as well as website design and web hosting. Do you mind to tell me a little bit more about how the business works?
Yeah, sure. My role in the business is looking after specifically paid ads, and that's the main channels we use are Google Ads and Meta Ads, but it crosses over to other things based on the business that you're working with, and it's about 40% of what we do. The other side of the business is web development and custom work for clients. Not so much software development or app development, but more about just integrating things with their business. And then about 20% is hosting. So we've been in business for a long time. So we have built up a lot of businesses that host with us, and it's a good driver for growth because people will think of a great idea, register the domain, put up a little website, and then pop out somewhere along the line and look for some support.
Great. So are you now at the point, being around for so long, where you've actually had someone literally call you up and say, hey, I need to host this brand new website that I haven't even built yet. Can you help me with that? And then they've gone on to become established brands afterwards?
Yeah, that does happen. And it'll happen through some contact point along the journey. It could be networking, it could be a referral, it could be, they worked for a company and they left. There's lots of ways that can happen, but yeah, that happens.
Wow.
And when that does happen, you do become a trusted advisor there because the domain DNS stuff that they don't know, and you're helping them think about how this business is going to be profitable right from the get-go.
Amazing. And how about yourself? Do you advertise to bring in clients, or is it mostly referral based?
I find for us referral and networking, and not networking in the sense that, although networking groups are fantastic, it's more about people in your sphere that you can let them know what you do, and then they will introduce people to you. We do put campaigns on and off from time to time, and we might find we've got some success in a certain business category, and we'll go, okay, we should talk to more people in this category. That could be some ads, some emails, some good old fashioned get on the phone.
Sure.
So we don't have ads running all the time.
Got it. And I'm assuming with the categories it would change, I guess, based on things that are happening out there. There may be a period of time where one industry is more popular, or do you find that it's just pretty consistent the whole way through?
I see consistency, but there's a good bit of flux at the moment with how people can use AI to do things around their business. Maybe we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But we didn't start by that word niche, which is that good or is that bad? We've been a generalist company, so we've had clients from big e-com stores, big spending lead gen clients, through to clients that 300 a month, and they get leads and they make money. So we haven't decided we're just going to target here, but we've done a lot of work in the dental space, so that's an area where we do focus.
Gotcha. I mean, so you mentioned you've done work with e-commerce businesses, dentists, and then we were talking offline. You mentioned that you've worked with trades, things like emergency plumbing and locksmiths and that side of things. So that's quite diverse. Is it yourself that handles the campaigns across all of these?
Pretty much. Over the journey, we've had staff, and business owners know what that's like when you have the cost of staff, and then you have the training, and you have all of the things that go with that. We've had offshore using overseas people. Now with the ability to roll out that AI that we started to talk about, you can replicate a lot of the day-to-day work that you do and have that run as if you have another employee.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely want to touch a little bit more about the AI side of things, if you're happy to share it, because it's quite fascinating on how you've been able to integrate that into your business as well.
I'll be happy to do that, but I'm no expert, but I'm happy to share what we're doing.
Hey, if you know, you probably know more than most. In terms of the business as well, what was interesting is that you mentioned earlier that your business operates in both the direct channel model, but where you've got direct clients that come to you, but you also have a wholesale model where you'll work with other agencies that may have the gap in being able to do pay-per-click campaigns, as you said, across Meta, across AdWords. Is it still called AdWords now, or is that old?
Yeah, that's old, but that just shows you were there back in the day. Google Ads now.
Google Ads. Okay, gotcha. Excuse the ignorance.
No, you get street cred for that, Nathan.
So, I mean, how does that work from a business perspective when you're dealing with them? Do you white label your services, or do you still deal directly with the end client when you're wholesaling?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about this in preparation to talking to you. Every campaign and every account is different. So you could think that you could white label and never have to talk to end users or be in depth. We're not a white label agency wanting to scale that necessarily. We integrate with other agencies fairly deeply. We've got good relationships with their owners and their team. And while they could run ads themselves or get someone else, they don't have someone with the skill set they want. Mm-hmm. So that's where we get involved. I think 75, look, and we have 5 or 6 of these that we work with. Nearly all of them don't hide Zen10. They say up front, this is the partner that we've got involved for this part of the business. Mm-hmm. Some of them get me to sit in meetings when it's needed. That's either because, things aren't going the way they should be and I'm the guy who can explain it, or I can, they'll say, I want you in the room, Mark, while we work out this strategy. Mm-hmm. Things like that. So to answer your question, it's a big part of our business. It's regular, but it's not like, tick the box, you get white label. We actually, each account is given the same level of love as if we were doing it ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the agencies will say, what's the state of play if we need you to do meetings? And I go, it's included. And then we give them a wholesale rate. And generally we're not doing the meetings, but, we give them that support when they're needed.
No, it sounds good, because I guess for a lot of agencies or businesses that may have that come up, to hire, as you touched on earlier, staffing are expensive. To hire someone, I'm assuming that's a 6-figure plus salary that they're going to need to be paying. And if they're only bringing in a few $1,000s from a couple of campaigns, they'd be actually losing money on doing that. But to have an actual trusted specialist, it just makes sense.
And if they get their internal person who's a bit of a jack of all trades to be running the ads, they just don't have that level of depth to not so much do it properly, but to expand it and grow it and make it work as part of all of the channels. Yeah. Mm.
And so you mentioned that you're effectively being embedded or integrating in on these campaigns across different businesses. So you'd have to be on top of quite a few different relationships. You'd have the owners, but you might have operations managers within these businesses as well.
Yeah, you do. The agencies that we're working with, they tend to be on the smaller side. They could be 2 to 10 people. Mm-hmm. You're normally dealing with the owner who is managing the bigger accounts. Sometimes then you'll move across the partners. You might be helping the sales guy close something. That's something else we do because that benefits us.
Sure.
They might ask us to put the if it's put the Google Ads part of the proposal together for them. We'll do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that's terrific. It's interesting how collaborative it sounds like your industry is, whereas a lot of people would be quite apprehensive to have someone that can do some of the things, because there must be overlap. Some of those, I presume, would also offer hosting and maybe even web design at times.
It's all based on trust, Nathan. It's all on trust. Very rarely you're doing NDAs and contracts. It's like, let's trust.
No, that's great. And we touched on it. You mentioned at the start that about 40% of the business is that Google Ads, Meta Ads side of the business. and then the rest comes from your web design, your web hosting component. You're fortunate that you've got a partner that you've been in business with for coming up to 14, 15 years, which is quite a long time. Walk me through, how did that start? Did you initially form the business together, or did you know each other beforehand?
That's a nice question. I'm very lucky with my business partner. It's probably one of the, we'll call it luck, right place. I joined the business, it had a different name then, in 2009, and I'd previously worked in a government, in a business selling websites to corporate. Had a back injury, lost that job, and then went and found this job. And I was able to approach it because while I was getting better and recovering, I just learned how to do Google Ads and ran a few ads. And my first dollar ever, Nathan, was on a finance company AdWords campaign that I was just running in America randomly. So I'm just thinking of you. So I got the job, and Dylan was an employee there. This business at the time had maybe 10 staff. It had won a Telstra Business Award. And I was able to invest a little bit of money into the company and support some of its growth. And I got to know Dylan. So over the first 4 or 5 years, Dylan and I worked next to each other and got to know each other, what our style is, what our ethics are, how we operate, and that made it easy when the moment came for this idea to join forces to happen. The owner wanted to exit the company for lots of reasons, and it got offered to me. I took it over. Dylan was still an employee, and I thought, God, he's such an important part of this business if he ever leaves. So we had a discussion and worked out a way to join forces, and ever since then, it's been solid. So Dylan has high level technical skills. He's a designer. He's into astronomy. If anyone looks at his channel, he runs all the servers. So all of that has not been a headache for me at any stage. And we've got clear separation on roles. So the paid stuff is all on my side. And then when I need technical help, I've got that available. A big part of running successful campaigns is good landing pages and good websites that convert. So both sides feed each other. Having Dylan as a business partner is probably the biggest part of the success of this company, I think.
Oh, it's amazing. You should see, when I asked you that question, the way your face lit up. Just the mention of it, because it sounds like how you're describing it, the absolute perfect partnership. Completely complementary, and you had that trial period of working together for a few years before you took that step.
Yeah, so that's always the risk when it's a new person and you join together, and we've all seen the many times that fails. It works, but this was good.
And
we
so
dated for a while first before we got married.
Was it an idea that had been floating around in your mind for quite a while before you approached for him to step on board, or was it just a realization you came to one day that, hang on, I'd be stuffed without this guy?
It was the other way around. Around about 2012-13, we were part of we were awarded a trip to wherever the Google place is, Mountain View, or so. Just to recognise the work we did, there were 20 agencies in Australia sent over. We were one of them. So I was gearing up.
That sounds like a big deal. I like you just casually throw that in there, but that.
I'm very proud of that because we were chosen as a small fish. It was just based on the work, and not just me, Dylan as well. We've been asked a few times to speak on panels at Google events, and I think it's Dylan that actually did a lot of the getting us noticed by some of his insights. Me too, but credit there. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to give this to Dylan. I want to just let him know how important he is. So Dylan did the trip, and he had the epiphany over there. He thought, okay, at that stage we had offices in Byron Bay. We had an office in Byron Bay. We had staff, and he said, if we don't need the office right now, And if we join together and get on the tools, this is how it'll look. And that's what we did.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was it would have been bubbling in the background for me, but I hadn't got to that point. He jumped there, and it didn't take us long to work out how to do that.
Oh, it's terrific that that you're able to sort of go through, and you're just straight business partners. I'm assuming you draw exactly the same wage. Is everything just 50-50 across the board?
Everything's 50-50 across the board. Yeah.
Wow, excellent. And so you mentioned that you weren't on the tools prior to setting up the business. Had you moved into more of a management position?
I love the way you say management position, Nathan. You have to sell stuff to pay wages. That's
Sure.
what I was doing. So I was really driving new business.
Gotcha. So more a BDM based role.
Yeah, with sales. So account management and sales.
Gotcha. Now that's what it looked like to have staff, initially say 14, 15 years ago, but then as you touched on a little bit earlier, you've recently been working with and deploying AI-based agents within your business. Could you share a little bit about how that's been able to come about and how you're able to integrate that?
Yeah, so probably like everybody, for the last 2 years we've been seeing AI, and up until this year, if you wanted to step into that world, you did need some technical skills. You would need to know how to program N8N and hook up webhooks and all sorts. You still needed that skill set to get beyond just using ChatGPT in the browser. So really this year, and it's come about through Claude. And working, I'm in a bunch of groups with other agencies, so this is where I kind of got the roadmap to do this. So by adopting Claude code into the business, the minute I did that, all of the day-to-day tasks that I sit there and open 10 tabs and analytics and ads and go high level, I can now get those tools to talk to Claude Code. So I'm now asking in natural language all of the things about the account. So I'm still doing work the same way. The next thing that I do is I set up the processes that every time I go and work on account, there's a set processes that I go through. Now, I don't jump through every one of those because I know where the problem is on this account, but I can get the AI tool to go out and look at all these databases, run it, the full stack of everything we need to do, highlight the things that I should be looking at. I work, make the decision, and then say, hey, go and do it now. So that efficiency that comes from having that in the business is amazing. So that gives me the ability to do my best work, and do my best work more often.
That sounds like, what are we talking hours-wise? Is this brought back 10 hours a week?
What? It hasn't, and this is the conversation I have with many people. I'm just doing more work at the moment, right? So it gives you another 10 hours, right? I think at the moment I've got a plan now. I think I can get myself out of my role in the business within 3 months, and that'll come to systems have always been important, and SOPs and checklists, but it was always scaffolded across Slack, across Google Sheets, across all of these different areas. Now I'll be able to build a system where I can get someone else who, I can show them how to use the team part of this AI infrastructure, get them to run things the way I want them, give them access to add to it and give ideas, and I will be able to replace myself.
Wow, that's terrific, because it's funny as you mentioned that about having stuff everywhere. It made me think back to when we were running a semi-large scale mortgage brokerage, and we would have some documents stored on Drive, plus then we would have our CRM that was there, but there'd also be a Slack-based message. And eventually you would do things which are very illogical. You'd set a task within the CRM, but then you'd send a Slack message, which to me is like texting someone to tell them you're going to phone them.
Then send an email to yourself just in case it all fails, right? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. All of these contingency plans in place and redundancies. But
Um,
this, but
yeah, the other thing,
it,
just on the AI piece, it then has the ability, like if you can imagine something, it's possible to do it. It also takes away all of the technical constraints, because Claude Code's a jump, and there's a thing called Claude Cowork, which I just recommend every business owner. If they're not the type of business owner that says I want to do it, I'll pay someone, and that's a good way to go as well. Just go and learn something about Cowork now, even if it's not to implement, but over the coming 1 or 2 years, that just Claude Cowork. Um, my mindset now is that anything's possible. If I can think about something, I'm going to be able to implement it without technical limitations, because that code word, Claude Code, it goes and does it. So if you want to build an app, if you want to, this is where people are able to mock up websites in literally minutes. So,
wow.
right? So now that doesn't take the human out of the loop, because everyone's doing this now, and you can spot them. You go, okay, that one was done by Lovable, that one was done by Claude Code. You get someone like Dylan in that loop who's got design, can elevate the design, then you've got gold.
So it almost sounds like with all of these tools that are there, you still need to have some level of functional skill set to be able to use them, and then you can speed up the process and deliver something faster. But if, say, for example, myself that has no designing experience, I'm going to knock up something that looks like it's been used with an AI-based tool. But if,
Better than that, it'll be better than that. It'll actually look really good, and it'll look professional, and it won't have any holes in it. But it's probably going to be the same as what other people, like it's going to be the average level now, which is very high. But yeah, you to take it to the next level, you just need humans in the loop there.
Gotcha. So have you found that that's in any way interrupted or reduced the demand for the website design part of your business with these?
Not yes. The answer is yes, and starting to see it. We've got a client in the boat industry, and the website was not doing anything that he needed to do. And I talked to him about Cowork, and all of a sudden he's mocked up a brilliant website. He's got some help from someone, and he's done that all himself. And normally he would be looking to go to somewhere between 5 and 15 grand to do that. So this is the game changer. So there's an existential threat to our business around this, and it's also coming on the Google Ads side as well, because Google and Meta want to take out the agency, and they want to take out all of the levers you have to pull. Like there's many hundreds of levers you can pull to, do a bid modifier, change an audience, all of those things. That will be run a little bit more seamlessly through AI, and AI will even do the creative. So all of a sudden, what's Zen10 doing anymore? We need to be involved with the actual strategy, the offer, helping this business think about what they're selling and to who. And then we've got the tools to implement the campaigns as well. But then I think we'll become the trusted advisor in this AI space. And it might be just around the marketing component. It might step outside of that. I know from knowing you, Nathan, that you've experienced this. Once you become the trusted advisor, they'll ask you things that are way outside the scope of what you're there for. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that inflection point's happening now. And I think the first step for us is to adopt the AI code infrastructure to help manage work. Then it's to build systems where someone else can do that work. And then I think the roadmap for us is to look at that dental industry and build a set for that, but then help businesses in general. Just how do they move from where they are now to this AI world where there's tools available for them?
So it's really, from how you're describing it, I guess at the risk of using generic-based terms, you're moving more towards a consultancy and advisory-based business.
This is a very loose description, and this isn't a business plan, and this isn't like we're still, managing and wrangling ads on a daily basis, and that's where the business is now. But my interactions with clients and their marketing teams and the owners of small business, okay, I'm using AI on my side. This is where you can start using it on your side, because we can help each other, and that's just at that level, and that'll evolve.
It's a really interesting approach that you've got to it, because a lot of people may approach with fear and say, well, hang on a second, with all of these tools that are popping up, it's going to be a matter of time. Like you said, someone's going to be able to run their Google Ads campaign, their Meta campaign. It'll just be something that they type into Claude. They can get the the wording of how they're going to position it, who the audience should be, and build that out, and that will probably take minutes. But I think as well, just like with the website, you're going to end up with something that sits about average, that sits across there. I want to just go back to campaign management, if I can, and particularly relevant with the fact that a lot of people may be looking to run their own campaigns, again, with an AI-based tool. But I mean, how often is it that you've been able to pick up a client that may have been running an ad-based campaign and it just wasn't working, so their return on ad spend meant that they were losing cash on it, and then you've been able to tweak a campaign and get a positive result? Is that a regular occurrence, or is that something that happens from time to time?
No, that's a regular occurrence, and just had a message in my phone today from one of our agency partners, and they had a client in the leather restoration business for furniture. Now that I've told you that, I have to be careful everything else I say. Can you work out? Nothing? Okay. Not a difficult client, but hands-on, wanted to build his own landing pages, like very, very tight. Gave us the ad campaign. It had no conversion tracking. It had been running for ages. It was doing something because he would get some calls, and we've had it running for a week, and their account manager said, Mark, he's wrapped. He's just had 5 new leads this week that he's never seen before. So whatever you do, and keep doing it. And that's on a very small budget. Ad budget. It's north of $1,000 a month, south of $1,000 a month, and that's a small example. Yeah, it happens all the time. A lot of times when you're managing the campaigns yourself, unless you've got Google Ads paid experience, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, and for us, it's starting with the really it starts with the gross profit in whatever they're selling and working backwards. Okay, and then working out how to run a campaign that profitably delivers leads, and then you want to understand with your customer, are we driving leads? Are we driving jobs so you fill your book up this week, or you sell X amount of whatever's on your e-commerce, or are we growing? Are we wanting to get this specific type of customer? So once we build that up, we'll have the word of mouth, and that's where our profit is. Or instead of really successfully remarketing to customers and getting lots of sales, what if we tone that down, and the measurement you want from me is how many new customers did we get this month? Not like $100,000 times 10 ROAS. Yay, that's good, love that. But how many of that was new customers? Because they're going to have lifetime value, and that's where the growth will come. So thinking about not just managing a campaign for that short-term outcome, it's that long-term outcome. Yeah, I got off topic there. Sorry, Nathan.
What I like about that, and again, it just touched on an interesting point, because you've talked about the lifetime value of the customer, but you may have had a situation, let's say that you were selling leather belts, and I may have bought a leather belt from ABC store that's your customer, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be a long-term customer of theirs. But then I may have stumbled across another ad and go, hang on, I had a good experience with them, and then I use that to go back. So I would appear as if I'm a returning customer, but I'm a returning customer off the back of the advertisement. And then at the same time, you would have some business owners, I'm sure, that would go, if I spend X, I want to get back Y as a multiple. So are you regularly having these conversations with, say, for example, e-commerce based businesses that are looking for a return versus like an immediate return versus lifetime value of the client?
Yeah, it's both of those. And so that's where understanding the gross profit margin comes in. So a lot of businesses will be operating on 30 to 40% because they're not manufacturing the product. So this acronyms, ROAS, return on ad spend. Okay. So times 10 means for the $100 that they made in the sale, $10 of that went to ads. So their margin's gone down. So it's understanding that metric. And then you'll have different margins across their product categories and yeah. And
Sure.
so
And I assume that would vary greatly from if there was a product that they were offering with a full business as opposed to, say, a mortgage broker, for example, like my previous life in mortgage broking where, you'd be happy with probably a ROAS of 3.
yeah.
Because your costs are usually quite low. It's usually the consultant themselves that is the bulk of the cost.
Yeah.
That sits across there.
On the e-commerce side, so then you can, the client might say, well, okay, or we'll have a discussion. I can get you more sales, but there'll be slightly less profit in them. So
Is that because you're casting a wider net at that particular point?
The next lot of customers are going to be a little bit harder to get. They're going to cost a little bit more.
And so I assume that would mean that there'd be times where it's actually finding the right balance between a campaign being profitable, but just because it's profitable at $10,000 a month spend doesn't mean that if you were to go 10 times that, you'd necessarily, because there's only a certain amount of people whose eyeballs you can get in front of.
Yeah, and it's just not linear. Okay, so it's there's the low-hanging fruit, then there's the fruit a little bit further up the tree, and then there's the ones up the top. You've got to do a little bit more work to get them.
So go for the low-hanging fruit first, and then...
Yeah, and there's another way to think about it as well, and the more sophisticated businesses do that in e-com, because the sales are coming through from organic. There are, people typing in the business, social channels, their email channels, and their paid ad channels. So paid ad, and if their marketing spend, if they're only doing paid ads and they're spending $10,000 a month, you want to look at that top line $300 a month through the store, because Google Ads is supporting visibility. Like you said before, someone will remember the business, they saw an ad and then type it in organically. So you want to look at that percentage of ad spend against total growth. And that's a different way of thinking about it again. Because if you just look in the channel in isolation, especially when Google and Meta want to claim credit for everything, so just step back and look at that big picture. And that trusted advisor role kicks in again, because then you're having discussions about, tell me about your email campaigns. How is that performing? Let's look at the data on that.
Sounds like a little bit of a halo effect.
It's a major halo effect. And that's always been the case with Google Ads, and people don't often factor that in enough.
And also, I think a lot of people wouldn't factor in necessarily the lifetime value of the client if they were looking for the immediate return on it. And so we've talked a little bit about the e-commerce, but then we also mentioned that you deal with services. So take, for example, emergency plumbing and locksmiths. I assume that those wouldn't be a straight line, exactly the same spend every single month. Walk me through how you'd run a campaign for them.
You're looking at maximising leads at profitable cost per lead. And so the better your customer understands the numbers, the better you are. So plumbers, where they've got, so they've got a team 5 and above, 5 and up to whatever, 50 or etc. When we run ads, we're going to get a lot of calls for, can you come fix my tap? And you think, how can you possibly run profitable ads for that? Or you don't. But what you do is you pick up the big drain digs and the bigger jobs as part of that. So when you're running a bigger lead gen account for plumbing, and it's not just emergency plumbing, but that's really what plumbing is. It's a grudge. Something's happened and you need someone to come now.
Sure.
So you're looking at getting top position on mobile. You're looking at what's that click going to cost you, and how many of those turn into calls. And then their call center or the person answering the phone, you need their metrics. Are they closing at 80%? And then once you know your numbers, you can start that scaling. Okay, so if we add, I'm just making up numbers, we're at 10 grand, we're going to go to 12, we're going to go to 15, we're still holding, this is working. And then there's differences if you're the plumber's just running in 8 suburbs versus a plumber that's running all over Melbourne. So, but we have had a plumber who was spending 20,000 a day.
A day?
A day. And he didn't mind what he paid for clicks because it generated a lot of calls. But that's a real outlier. There's plenty that are in the low thousands and profitable and, the phone rings.
Because it also seems like for a lot of industries where they'll have fixed costs, if they've got fixed staff, but their bookings might be low, even going back to, say, the dentistry-based clients you mentioned. So if they're already paying for an office, they've already got an office manager in there, they've already got receptionists, they've already got all of these staff, but they might be down a little bit low in bookings. They might be ones where they'd actually look at doing maybe a surge in advertising for a short period of time to fill up their calendar during the less busy times. Is that also...
Yeah, that approach we have done before, and it could be around a specific treatment. But more at the moment, one of the things that dentists are after is this new patient growth. So it's about running campaigns that will drive new patients to the business. And this is where I won't give away how we do that.
Sure.
But we've got a fairly big dental practice out in the southern suburbs, and they rely on this because they'll say, we just hired 2 more dentists and we need them busy. So that's critical for them to have a way of confidently knowing that they can get that chair filled and grow. And there's responsibility on the dentist side, because when that fails, that dentist isn't looking to give that level of patient service where they're offering the other things that they need to do. So you need to have a business that's got a good eye for that and good staff for that, because you are diluting your margin by advertising to get people this way. But the numbers stack up. People come in, if they do the clean and the hygiene, they find the filling that you need, that gets done. You ask about something else, that gets done. The family comes in, we're good.
And that's where you start measuring out your lifetime value.
Yeah.
Across
so
all.
they're happy to. It's not a lost leader completely, but thinking about that first booking for that clean that way.
It's terrific. And what about? I mean, what's this? If you can share it, what's one of the strangest product offerings that you've?
I don't know about strange, but I think about this all the time. We had a guy up in Byron, Ballina, which is up our way, and he was a roofer, and he just created this crazy tool for cutting up metal on the roof, because it's snipping and cutting metal, and that was really interesting. That was just a product development that he came up with, and we helped him market it, and it didn't take over the market and didn't end up in Bunnings, but he did pretty well out of that. In terms of crazy products, everything from drug tests, so you can see if your kids are up to naughty stuff, to selling cars, like everything in between. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, I just haven't got that crazy story for you, but there is. Sometimes you do. Google won't let you do guns and adult stuff, but they used to. So there was some things there back in the day. Yeah.
Guns. That's
Well, not really. It wasn't guns, but it was just self-defense stuff, but you can't do any of that now. And
it's not even weapons. So like samurai swords and things like that.
yeah, you can do it if you say it's ceremonial or it's in a thing. You can do that. But what happens is we do a lot of telescope stuff, and they get caught up with it in this scope. If they think it's a scope that can be used,
on a rifle.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just a spotting scope for looking at land-based or the stars or whatever. Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah.
So you'd ship a scope separately. You wouldn't
Oh, no,
ship the whole.
all that happens is that they just have scopes, and it just gets picked up by the algorithm going, oh, you're doing this, we'll disapprove that, and you apply and you get it fixed, and yeah.
Kind of reminds me, years ago, my first business was a party entertainment company. We used to have poker chips. And so when we would go through security scanners for the first few months, so this would have been '07, eventually they just got used to seeing them, but you put them through. Now, if you were to line a bunch of red poker chips right next to each other, you think, what does that look like? Explosives.
Yes.
And it's in a metal case as well, right? Which they're not used to seeing because it just made sense. You know, you'd carry it as your hand carry if I was going interstate and running an event, and you put it through, and they, you know, the extra search, they're doing the swab test on you, etc. for dynamite.
Just thinking about we did run a campaign for a guy, and it was all about growing marijuana as a successful business. Like, that's out of Nimbin somewhere. I don't know how we ever did that. I don't know how we ever got that approach. Human hair for girls for their wigs, like everything.
Human hair
Yeah, it's big. Girls cutting their hair so other people can
use it.
make wigs and
Well,
things.
you've got two potential clients in both of us.
I've given up, mate. I'm good.
It's nicer like this. It's easier for people to spot us in a crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. We've covered your AI agents and all of the different campaigns that you've done. It's amazing in terms of, you touched on the fact that you potentially might be able to step out of your role. So I'm assuming that's going to be more focused in just business development would be the aim from here on.
Yeah, it will be in business development, but it's also going to open up the opportunity for new things. So there'll be things will happen that I haven't thought of, or they've just been on the back burner. There's going to be more time for life stuff, and just keep going back to the AI. What the AI stuff does is it gives you certainty. You know that I'm now certain about the way that the business can run. I also know that the AI has captured everything. Extreme certainty around that, and that transfers to other parts of your life. And you're working away and thinking, geez, I just did something I never thought I could possibly ever do. And then you think, wow, I can do things, right? And then, you've got a challenge like coming on your podcast, and I was nervous. I just switched the mindset and said, no, this is going to be great, and looking forward to it.
You haven't appeared nervous at all, man. You've done terrific.
That's you. It's making it very comfortable.
I appreciate
so time with Olga, my wife. She runs her own business, and it's very easy for end of the day I really don't want to hear about her ins and outs of everything that happened. And she definitely doesn't want to know why. That I'd really love to talk to somebody about that cost per click that spiked that I can't answer, right? So
this is your chance. It's being recorded.
Finding time just to get together and do more things together, and then we want to just do some more travel, and it's going to allow me to do that. The business can keep running from wherever I am. So I'm really looking forward to the next part of the journey.
It sounds like what you've done and what you've developed is amazing. Having been able to be familiar with what you've been doing for a little while now, it's great that you're at that point. I'm just curious, one thing, because of the fact that your industry is so dynamic and there's so much changing, do you allocate specific time to just sit and think and plan, or to study and learn, or is it just something that gets integrated into your day?
Yeah, this has always been the challenge for people who are on the tools, because you're at exactly where they are. You're not thinking about what's the next thing coming. The way I do that is I try to make sure that I've got some deep work allocated during the week, and that's really deep work on accounts, not doing just the normal optimization checklist and things, but thinking about the holistic picture. And then typically on Fridays I just block it out, and I just call it growth day, and that means I can jump into the LinkedIn people that I follow and the things I'm interested in, and the YouTube channels, or rarely a hard, proper book. So that's how I do it. But learning is a big thing, and there's a lot in my list there that to spend time in, and just got to create the time and do that. There's a thing that I do, there's a book called Tiny Habits, and it just talks about have 3 levels, the V1, 2, and 3. And V1 is just open that bit of learning up and watch it for 10 minutes, because then you create a habit, and that starts to progress, because it's really easy just to procrastinate on that. I'll do it next week. So that's
because it's so small, right? So you go, well, there's no hurry. I'll just do 20 minutes tomorrow, and before you know it,
that 10 minutes, you're right into it, and then you've done the learning. Yeah. So just
that's absolutely terrific. Mark, thank you so much for how generous you've been with your time and sharing the insights today, and really appreciate having you on the episode.
Oh, Nathan, it's wonderful. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
And boom. Mate, that was fantastic. You're such an expert. I loved it.
No, it's really good. It's one-on-one. I'm good one-on-one, and that's how it felt. That's how it just was. So your questions were great. You gave heaps of space for answers. And I wasn't, at no point was I thinking, what do I say here? It was just like, oh yeah, that's a good question. Let me. Yeah.
So this is probably, I think, the 7th episode I've recorded, and it's about going away from the framework of the questions, but have the framework there. And it helps when you like the person, when you know the person, and you already know quite a lot about what they do. So you kind of have it. But I mean, I think that was
the questions were like really
layup shot. Yeah. But no, it's actually it's cool to learn more about people you already know.
Yeah.
I had it in my head that it was 10 years, but I think it was 10 years in 2019 when we met that you'd been.
Yeah. And like I would say Dylan's one of my best friends, and we never hang out, and we never, we do talk about personal stuff every couple of weeks. We have that just happens, but it's just, it's good. It's really good.
He's, in all my interactions with him, and there haven't been massive interactions, he's always just come across as a smart gentleman, is how he holds himself.
He's got a steel rod inside him, and the only things that ever happen sometimes is he'll, clients want to be handheld and massaged, and,
Not quite his skill set.
It ain't going to happen. Yeah. There'll be a one-line email. It won't be saying no, it'll just be saying, I need you to do this.